First this morning on The Briefing, a GB News exclusive story ahead of tomorrow's by-election. The people of Birmingham Erdington vote for a new MP on Thursday in a poll following the sudden death of respected Labour MP Jack Dromey. The frontrunner among the 12 candidates to replace him is Labour's Paulette Hamilton. Her party has held the seat since 1945. Now today, GB News can reveal we have uncovered some interesting past comments of Hamilton's, which she made in 2015. Speaking at an event entitled "The Ballot or the Bullet? Does Your Vote Count?", Hamilton appeared alongside the controversial race academic Kehinde Andrews and made a number of eyebrow-raising comments about the value of democracy. First, let's turn to views that appear to suggest she is torn between the democratic system and what she calls an uprising.
So you talk about the bullet or the vote. I'm not sure, although I believe in the vote and I believe in our right to use that vote or destroy that vote, I'm not sure that we will get what we really deserve in this country using the vote. But I don't know if we are a strong enough group to get what we want to get. If we have an uprising, I think we will be quashed in such a way we could lose a generation of our young people. So I am very torn. I went away and watched the Malcolm X film to make sure, and listened to a lot of what he said to make sure I was ready.
Malcolm X was a divisive figure in the American civil rights movement, accused of supporting violence in the otherwise noble cause of racial justice. So that's quite a statement. But perhaps more interesting is what she said a few minutes later at the same panel event. In making a point about political representation, Hamilton made an interesting comparison. A year after the so-called Trojan horse scandal broke, Hamilton also talked about infiltration, about taking over governorships, changing head teachers, and inserting religio-political views into those schools that were taken over. This is what she said.
We had Trojan horse in the council. Our Muslim brothers and sisters, for many, many years, you know, there were things out there saying that they had made a plan about how they were going to try and not integrate, but ensure that their teachings and what have you got into the system. What then happened was many of the schools, inner city schools in Birmingham, certain schools, the Muslim families, they filled the schools. They then ensured that they took over the governorships. As they took over the governorships, they made sure that the heads of those schools were people that they wanted to represent their cause. What they then did with doing all of this, it made sure that their religious views and their beliefs were taken through the education system. It was also then taken into politics. We have large numbers of Muslim councillors. We've got 2 MPs in this city that look after the needs, well, they don't, but they're supposed to look after the needs of a community. What has happened is they've got into positions of power and they've forgotten the reason they were put there in the first place. The problem with our community, we're not even on the map.
Now, later in the discussion, when talking about increasing representation, Hamilton went on to say, quote, "I know that we want something of our own, but sometimes you have to infiltrate other systems if you want to get change." Now, Hamilton's comments were made in 2015 during a 2-hour panel discussion hosted by the Organisation of Black Unity. Yesterday, we approached the Labour campaign for a response, but one was not provided ahead of this programme. Now, Ms Hamilton's Conservative rival, Robert Oldham, told us that "I'm sure many people will find these comments attributed to the Labour candidate shocking and concerning." We also approached the Liberal Democrat candidate, Lee Daroug, for a response, but one has not so far been provided. Voters in Erdington head to the polls tomorrow, and there are 12 candidates in total on the ballot paper, which you can see on your screen now. Polling stations close at 10 p.m. tomorrow, and we should know who has won by the early hours of Friday morning. Seeing some of those candidates there on our screen.